Ever find yourself thinking about how to keep that youthful energy? That feeling of being sharp and on your game even as you get older. We all want to unlock the secrets to feeling vibrant and full of life as the years roll by.
Absolutely. It's about more than just adding years to your life, right? It's about squeezing the most out of each year,
Yeah.
staying mentally agile, physically energized, just having that overall feeling of vitality and well-being.
And that's what makes today's deep dive so fascinating. We're going deep into methylene blue and its potential role in this quest for healthy aging. Now, methylene blue might not be a household name, it's actually got quite a history, starting out as a simple dye back in the 1800s.
It really does. It's amazing how this compound has evolved from dyeing textiles to becoming a subject of intense medical research. It just goes to show how versatile and, frankly, how powerful its interactions with the body can be.
Exactly. And our goal today is to cut through the noise and really analyze the science behind methylene blue and its potential anti-aging effects. We've got a great guide laying it all out, and we're talking about a lot of potential benefits here. We're looking at everything from boosting our cells' powerhouses to how it affects our skin, even the possibility of sharper thinking as we age.
The sheer range of areas methylene blue could potentially impact is remarkable. This guide does a great job of breaking down how it could target those core processes of aging. It's all connected: how our mitochondria function, how well our bodies manage oxidative stress, the health of our nervous system, skin health, even our metabolism. It's really pretty impressive.
Let's start with the basics, how our cells generate energy. We're talking about those tiny but mighty mitochondria. The guide makes a pretty compelling case that as we age, these powerhouses, well, they start to lose a bit of their oomph, don't they?
You got it. As we get older, our mitochondria don't function as efficiently. They produce less ATP, which is basically the fuel that powers every single one of our cells.
Hmm.
And to make things worse, they start generating more of those harmful byproducts, those reactive oxygen species, or ROS. And this increase in what we call oxidative stress, well, is like a major culprit behind cellular aging.
And here comes methylene blue with some really intriguing possibilities. The guide explains that it can actually lend a hand to the struggling mitochondria. It's almost like an electron donor in the electron transport chain. Now, that might sound a bit technical, but it's a key part of how our bodies produce energy.
It does sound a bit technical, I'll admit, but the basic idea is actually quite simple. Imagine the electron transport chain inside the mitochondria as a relay race, passing energy from one molecule to another. Methylene blue steps in, especially when some runners, those molecules, are slowing down because of age or damage. It makes sure that energy keeps flowing smoothly, sort of bypassing those weaker links in the chain. And this is crucial. It's not just accepting the decline, it's actively helping your cellular power plant stay in better shape.
So it's like giving our cellular energy production a much-needed tune-up. And in doing so, does it also help to reduce the amount of those harmful ROS molecules we were talking about?
Precisely. By optimizing the flow of those electrons within the mitochondria, methylene blue helps them produce energy more efficiently. And that means fewer electrons leaking out to create those harmful free radicals. So we're talking less damage at the cellular level and potentially less age-related energy decline. Think of it like your car's engine running smoother and cleaner, producing less of that nasty exhaust.
That's a great way to picture it. Now, the guide also goes into methylene blue's antioxidant properties. We hear a lot about antioxidants, but how does methylene blue fit into all of this?
The amazing thing about methylene blue is that it acts as an antioxidant on two different levels. First, it's a free radical scavenger, meaning it can directly neutralize those unstable molecules that cause damage to our cells. It basically stops them in their tracks before they can wreak havoc.
So it's taking those harmful molecules head on.
Yeah.
And what's the second way it works as an antioxidant?
The second mechanism is possibly even more powerful for long-term protection. Methylene blue actually enhances our body's own natural defense systems. It boosts the activity of some very important enzymes like superoxide dismutase, or SOD, that's like your body's dedicated cleanup crew for those harmful oxygen molecules in catalase, which helps to break down hydrogen peroxide. Think of them as your internal protectors, constantly working to keep oxidative stress in check. So methylene blue isn't just fighting the good fight itself, it's actually empowering your body to be more resilient, to better defend itself against these threats.
It sounds like a really smart, two-pronged attack against oxidative stress, which the guide emphasizes is one of the biggest culprits behind aging, leading to all sorts of cellular damage over time. So if methylene blue can help keep that in check, it could be a significant factor in slowing down aging at a fundamental level, right?
Absolutely. If we connect this to the big picture, Reducing the damage caused by oxidative stress can have huge, far-reaching benefits for our tissues and organs, and those benefits can last a lifetime.
Now let's shift gears a bit. One thing I know a lot of people worry about as they age is maintaining their cognitive function. The guide explores how methylene blue might be neuroprotective, and that sounds really promising.
It really does. The guide highlights several ways methylene blue might be protecting our brains. One key factor is its ability to cross the blood-brain barrier. This barrier is like a really strict security system, keeping harmful substances out of your brain, but it also makes it harder for helpful substances to get in. Methylene blue can pass through, meaning it can directly impact brain tissue.
That's a big plus. So once it's inside the brain, what does it actually do? The guide mentions its impact on mitochondrial function within brain cells.
And this is absolutely essential for keeping your brain sharp. Brain cells are energy hogs. They need a constant supply of fuel to function properly. And those mitochondria we were talking about, they're the ones providing that fuel. By making sure those brain cells are getting the energy they need, methylene blue might help support overall cognitive function and potentially slow down age-related cognitive decline.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The guide also points to some early research looking at its potential to fight Alzheimer's disease, specifically mentioning those hallmark proteins, tau protein and amyloid beta plaques.
Right. There are some initial studies suggesting that methylene blue might help to reduce the buildup of these proteins, which are strongly linked to Alzheimer's. Now, this research is still in its early stages, but it does open up some really exciting possibilities for methylene blue and how it could be used to address neurodegenerative diseases.
And the guide also mentions some early-stage clinical trials showing some promise for improving memory and cognitive function in general. It all sounds very exciting, but it sounds like we need to temper our enthusiasm just a bit, right?
Of course, it's important to be cautious. While these initial findings are encouraging, we need more rigorous, long-term trials in humans. We need to confirm these effects and really understand the potential benefits for long-term cognitive health. This is an active area of research, and we can't get ahead of ourselves just yet.
Let's move on to something I think a lot of people can relate to, and that's the health and appearance of our skin, especially those visible signs of aging. The guide suggests that methylene blue might have some very interesting applications in this area.
Skin aging is a complicated process. It's driven by things like damage from UV radiation, the breakdown of collagen and elastin, and our cells' ability to repair themselves slowing down. What's remarkable is that some studies suggest that methylene blue might actually be more effective at protecting our skin than some of the traditional antioxidants we see in skincare products, things like vitamin C and retinol.
Wow, that's quite a statement. What makes it so potent for our skin?
The guide breaks down several key actions. It seems to help those fibroblasts, the cells that produce collagen and elastin, function better. And those proteins, they're what give our skin its firmness and elasticity. There's also evidence that it helps to protect skin cells from the damage caused by UV radiation. And get this, some research even indicates that it might actually help skin cells live longer by influencing those markers of cellular senescence, which is basically what happens when cells age. So it's not just about damage control. It might actually be promoting healthier, longer-living skin cells.
So we're not just talking about minimizing damage, we're potentially talking about helping our skin cells live longer and work better. That makes it sound like a pretty amazing ingredient for future anti-aging skincare products.
I agree. The potential is definitely there. Using methylene blue in topical products to combat those visible signs of skin aging is a very promising area of research. It's something to keep an eye on for sure.
Now, the guide also briefly touches on some potential benefits for metabolic health. This ties back to that whole idea of efficient energy production, doesn't it?
It does. Some animal studies have suggested that methylene blue might actually influence how our bodies handle energy. Specifically, there are hints that it could boost fat oxidation, which is how our bodies burn fat for fuel, and improve glucose metabolism, how we use sugar for energy.
And if those effects were to translate to humans, that could have really big implications for our overall health as we age. The guide even mentions a potential link to reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely. Keeping our metabolism healthy is crucial for long-term well-being. If methylene blue can play a supportive role there, that adds a whole other dimension to its potential benefits for longevity. But again, these findings are primarily from animal studies. We need more research to fully understand how this might work in humans.
Now, before anyone gets too excited and rushes out to find some methylene blue, the guide includes a really important section on dosage and safety. And this is absolutely critical, right?
Absolutely. Methylene blue is not something to experiment with lightly. The guide emphasizes the importance of using only pharmaceutical-grade methylene blue. There are different grades out there, and industrial-grade methylene blue is definitely not safe for human consumption. It can contain harmful impurities. If you are considering using it, it has to be pharmaceutical grade.
And what about finding the right dosage? The guide mentions a general range based on the current research.
Yeah, the studies showing cognitive and mitochondrial benefits typically use very low doses, generally under 1 milligram per kilogram of body weight. The guide also warns that taking higher doses might actually backfire. It could potentially become a pro-oxidant, which would be harmful. So more is definitely not better in this case.
And probably the most crucial safety issue highlighted in the guide is the potential for interactions with other medications, specifically its action as a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, or MAOI. Can you explain why this is so important for our listeners?
It's crucial to be aware of this. As an MAOI, methylene blue can interact with medications that affect the levels of certain neurotransmitters in the brain, particularly serotonin. One big example the guide mentions is SSRIs, those commonly prescribed antidepressants. Mixing methylene blue with these types of medications can lead to something called serotonin syndrome, which can be very dangerous, even life-threatening. If you're taking SSRIs or any other medications that affect serotonin, avoid methylene blue completely. The takeaway is, MAOIs affect your brain chemistry, and combining them with other substances that do the same can have unpredictable and potentially very serious consequences.
This is really important information. It's not just about methylene blue itself, it's about how it might interact with other medications you're taking. The guide stresses that talking to your doctor before even thinking about using methylene blue is an absolute must.
I can't emphasize that enough. It's vital to have a healthcare professional assess your overall health, your medications, and any potential risks before you even consider using methylene blue. Self-treating is just not worth the risk.
So if we put it all together, it sounds like methylene blue has the potential to be a really interesting and promising avenue for those seeking a longer, healthier life. It seems to affect so many fundamental aspects of aging, from how our cells produce energy to our brain health and even the health of our skin.
That sums it up nicely. The guide does a fantastic job of presenting the case for methylene blue. It highlights how it might benefit these core aging processes at a cellular level.
But the guide also makes it very clear that there's still a lot more research to be done. We need more extensive, long-term studies involving humans to truly grasp its full potential for extending lifespan.
Absolutely. The early research is exciting, but we need those more robust clinical trials with human participants to confirm its safety and long-term effectiveness before we can start making widespread recommendations.
And it's crucial to remember, as the guide emphasizes, that methylene blue is not a magical cure-all. It's not a quick fix for aging. A healthy lifestyle, a balanced diet, regular exercise, good sleep, and stress management, those are still the cornerstones of healthy aging.
Those are the non-negotiables. Methylene blue, if proven safe and effective, might become a valuable tool in our quest for healthy aging, but it should never be viewed as a substitute for a healthy foundation.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of methylene blue, it leaves us with a lot to think about. This compound, initially used to dye fabric, is now being investigated for its potential to not just extend our lives, but to actually enhance the quality of those years, to lengthen our health span. It really makes you realize that even well-known substances can surprise us, revealing new and unexpected roles as science advances. So, listeners, what does this mean for you? How do you view your own personal strategies for staying healthy and vibrant as you move forward, knowing that even old, familiar things can hold new secrets?